wouldn't say that I have a fountain of youth, but I think what has kept me young is my consistent skating. That's my only secret. People ask me, like, do you do yoga? Do you stretch? Do you do other sports? I don't. And I probably should, but I only just skate, and I skate so regularly that I never really lost a step. That's my only secret. I mean, maybe if I had taken a long break from it, you know, if it was a year or two, it would have been really hard to get back to, for sure. And maybe, like, these things would seem way more frightening, but I've just always skated, you know, through all the years, even through the dead times. So that's it. That's my only secret. Well, the notion that you're too old to skate, I believe that's been squashed mostly because the opportunity is there now. I mean, when we were young, especially when I was first starting, like, by the time you reached an age of responsibility, by the time you were out of high school, you had to find a job. Skating was not going to pay the bills. It was not a career. And so it was more like you outgrew it. It wasn't that you outgrew it. It was just that you had to go be a responsible adult. And then as our generation came in, suddenly there was a career to be made. You could be doing it into your 20s. And then eventually it opened up into, well, guys are still ripping into their 30s. And then our generation, you know, the sort of Bones Brigade era, and of course all kinds of other skaters our age, realized you could be doing it into your 40s. And I guess we're the litmus test for how far you can take it. You know, we are really the generation that's like, well, we're still trying. I don't know. There's no one out there to aspire to, so we're just going to keep doing it. And yeah, I mean, we're not learning tricks as rapidly. We're not taking the ultimate risks anymore, but we're still finding our way, and it's still super fun for us. It's hard to answer that question. Is there a level of professionalism? There's an awareness that you're on the spotlight. I mean, that just comes with having recognition. So whenever you walk around, people are like looking at you, or nowadays like filming you. I mean, literally these dudes just drove by our house yesterday and were with the camera, you know, just like, Tony Hawk, what's up? And that, being in that constant spotlight is a weird thing. It's not that I have some different public persona that I present to people, but it just makes you aware. And it's like, yeah, don't pick your nose. Don't say something inappropriate. But it's not like I'm saving that behind closed doors anyway. I think it's just more like you have to live truly. And if you think that you can present some false version of yourself, that's going to blow up in your face. The hardest thing is being a pro skater and then going to a public skate park, and it's like, oh, he's here. Everyone sit down. Let's see what happens. You know, and either they can't figure out why you can't do all these tricks that you've done on your video games, or they want to go and outdo you at their local park. And neither one of those bodes well, really, for just having a fun session. So it's kind of why I have my own facility right behind me. So I can just relax and try things and not worry about public scrutiny. Well, for sure, the skate park was my home away from home, starting with Oasis, which was in San Diego, and eventually Del Mar, which was North San Diego. That's where I found my people. You know, that's where I found my community and my, I think, sense of purpose and my sense of belonging. You know, I did all the usual things that a kid in grade school would do, played baseball, played basketball, hung out with my friends. But I always felt like I wanted to do something else. And when I found skateboarding, that fed into all my ways of thinking in terms of wanting to take risks, wanting to do it on my own pace, wanting to be creative. And so I found my community at the skate park. And I thought it was super fun. I mean, most of the skaters were older, but they had that same desire. They were into different types of music and art, and, you know, punk rock was the soundtrack to these skate parks, and I fell in love with it. Devo, Black Flag, X, Dead Kennedys, you know, that was what was pumping through the speakers, and I loved it. It was energetic, it was different, and it really gave us a sense of identity. You know, that was never lost on me, that I was lucky to have that place to hone my skills, but also to find like-minded people. And that's the catalyst for starting a foundation for public skate parks, was having that sense of belonging. Well, when I started sort of making a splash on the scene, or starting to get recognized in competition and stuff like that, a lot of it was hesitant, because it was like, well, who is this little kid? And he's just doing tricks, and that's not what skating's about. Skating's about style and raw power and bulky. And I didn't really care that much, because for one, I was already an outcast because I skated. So I was the only kid in my school that skated, right? I was shunned completely because of that, because it was like, you still skate? Like, didn't you give that up with the yo-yo? And then once I got into skating, my style was not the cool style. So I was an outcast within this outcast activity. So I was already used to this sort of hate, I was used to the haters, and I just dug in and did what I really loved. And that was creating tricks. And I found my people, I found other people that liked that kind of thing, and also didn't have the cool factor. They didn't have the flowy style. And so we all found each other, and we're like, hey, what about this? What if we do this? And we just kind of had our direction. Well, I enjoyed doing Police Academy 4 because that was our first experience on a real movie set, even though we were second unit and only doing stunts and only skating through the middle of the night in Toronto. I didn't enjoy getting fired from that job because I was too tall to double David Spade. I think literally, like, from the time that I got hired to be David Spade's stunt double to the time we shot it is when I went through my growth spurt. And suddenly I was like 4 or 5 inches taller, and they were like, that guy's the worst stunt double ever for this guy. But anyway, it was fun for a moment. And then Gleaming the Cube was the most fun, because that was pretty much straight out of high school onto a movie set and living that life. And it's not some life I ever aspired to, but it was amazing to be able to have that experience. I lived in LA for a few months while we did it. Everything was taken care of. There's always food. There's people get you stuff, and they just expect you to show up and do your lines and do the skating. And I got to know Tommy really well, Tommy Guerrero. He and I were basically living together in LA. It was insane. It was like this weird dream come true, but not a dream that we ever really had when we were growing up as skaters. It wasn't like skating is going to be my springboard to being a big movie star. That was not ever in the cards, but Stacy made it that way. When skating took a dive in the early 90s, it was really difficult. But I think I was the last to sort of feel that squeeze, because I was still making pretty good money even during the decline. And I had a house, I had a ramp, so I was always skating through and through. It wasn't until sort of 91, 92 where it was like, oh, this is all coming to an end quickly. And I never wanted to quit skating. It was just more like, how do we find the facilities to do that? And the facilities became scarce, and then it became all street because the parks were closed. So I never was going to quit skating. It was just that I had to make ends meet. So I did take some odd jobs. I had a video editing system, and I took a couple of jobs editing other skate videos. I actually edited a video for TurboGrafx NEC, which is now online. If anyone wants to go find it, it's not hard. It's terrible. My equipment wasn't the best. But I needed to pay the bills. And then I got a couple of consulting jobs on commercials. So they didn't want me skating necessarily, but they wanted me to organize the skate action. I think on one commercial I actually ended up just building a jump ramp. That was my job. But hey, whatever it took, to make ends meet and to be able to keep skating. I never lost sight of that. I mean, for sure, it was super weird to be thrust in the spotlight, have all the success, and then have it just gone. I mean, within the course of a year. I can't blame anyone for that affecting them so deeply. For me, it was more like, shit, I gotta figure out how to make this work because I still want to skate. Oh, I have so many memories for Birdhouse. I think the earliest ones are the most vivid in terms of us just creating something out of nothing. You know, we wanted to do a brand. We went and sourced wood. We went and sourced how to get them printed. We were, you know, at one point, Willie and Jeremy and I were spraying stencils on our grip tape of the logos we had created just to get the word out there or the visuals out there. Our early tours were chaos, but super fun. You know, all of us, 5 of us riding in a van, all sharing a hotel room, skating in parking lots on like weird boxes with PVC or jump ramps or, you know, makeshift pyramids. And it was just fun because it was so experimental. You know, doing the end, I'd say it was sort of the next, that was the opposite end of where we started. We was doing the end. We're doing a full film and with a budget and, you know, hiring extras and doing sets and lighting skate spots. I mean, that stuff was kind of unheard of. And then in recent years, traveling with my current team, I mean, that reminds me of the early days. Even though we're more well-funded now and the crowds are bigger, it still feels like that camaraderie and that sense of belonging and that sense of fun. I mean, the reason that I decided to do a video now, the one we're working on Saturdays, is because of our last tour 2 years ago through Europe. As I was traveling with everyone, I realized like, this is Bones Brigade 2.0. This is my new family on the road. And we get along so well, and this is lightning in a bottle. Like the amount of talent that we have on the team is something I felt like is unparalleled, and I need to capture that on video. And that was the moment where I said, we have to do a video. We have to do a team video, even though team videos don't really exist anymore. But I felt like I owed it to them, and that's why we're doing it. And I think that over the last couple of years, shooting this video and traveling with some of the people, like we've gotten much, much closer, and it is. We're a family.